Baba.
Yeah. I
Hey,
can't
Baba.
see. One second. One second. Yeah, now I can see it. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. The seven realities: existence, sacrifice, renunciation, knowledge, control, and surrender. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following. The only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for this infinity God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth, God. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things body, mind, position, welfare itself are sacrificed. The only real renunciation which abandons each of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so called bad, in saint and in so called sinner. This knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in word or deed, not even those who harm you. The only real control is the discipline of the senses, to abstain from indulgence in low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba Ki
Baba
Jai.
ki jai.
Jai
Tar
Baba,
Meher Baba
Jai
ki
Baba from
jai Baba.
Samadhi to everyone.
Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Sanjay.
Jai
Jai
Baba,
Jai
Baba.
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 Jai Baba.
Jai Baba,
Karthik, Sanjay,
Jai Baba, Jai
Mamaji.
Can you
Baba,
show us
Ravi. Yeah.
glimpse, Sanjay? Can you show us a glimpse? It will get recorded as well.
I I just sat in my car actually to connect
Okay.
in the
No
parking
issues.
lot. Yeah. Jai Baba. Yeah.
Okay, Jai Baba.
Yeah. Jai Meher Baba.
Babaji, over to
Jai
you.
Baba. Ha, I will share my screen. Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Mamaji.
Yes.
Visible.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Yesterday, we had just read about Kalna and Na Kalna definition as such. I will continue from there. Kalana and Na Kalana. Effulgence is equal to infinite intelligence. That is equal to consciousness. Consciousness of the oversoul is equal to knowledge. Everything is equal to infinite. The infinite equals Paramatma equals Kalana. Darkness is equal to imagination. That is equal to ignorance. Nothing is equal to the most finite creation. That is Na Kalana. Effulgence is the nature of infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence is the consciousness of the oversoul. The consciousness of the oversoul, God, is knowledge, and this knowledge is effulgent. everything is everything is the nature of infinite, and the infinite one is Paramatma. And Paramatma is the state of Kalana, everything. Darkness is imagination. Imagination is the state of ignorance, and ignorance is the state of darkness. Nothing is the most finite. The most finite nothing is creation, and creation is in the state of na kalana, that is nothing. So, can we have any discussion on this? So, this particular sentence which I will read now makes a lot of stress. I think effulgence is the nature of infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence is the consciousness of the oversoul. Consciousness of the oversoul. The consciousness of the oversoul, God is knowledge. And this knowledge is effulgent.
Effulgence
Knowledge,
means
ah,
effulgence means the light, right? The
light,
light or the
brightness, or
brilliance
the,
or glow. All
yes,
these things come, right?
yes,
You
yes.
just look up the dictionary meaning. I think that's better to look up the dictionary meaning if possible. Otherwise, we can do it later on.
Ah,
Okay, do we have access to the dictionary?
Yeah, I mean we can look it up. Not a big deal.
hmm.
So effulgence.
Emancipation is the nearest word. Dhyana, emancipation.
Radiant splendor. Radiant splendor.
Radiance,
Radiance, yeah.
Brilliance.
yeah. Brilliance is
Yeah.
effulgent, brilliance, radiance.
Radiance,
That is,
brilliance.
so from a source, light emerging and spreading all over. That is effulgent.
Sun is
Okay.
an example, right? Sun.
Yes, example.
Yeah.
So that
Here,
knowledge, effulgence, consciousness of the oversoul is infinite intelligence. So God is infinite intelligence, consciousness of the oversoul, and knowledge which is effulgent. I'll continue the reading.
correct. I just looked up the Oxford Dictionary. Is radiant,
Radiant,
resplendent, and effulgence is
resplendent.
radiance.
Yes.
Yeah, basically it is saying that the real knowledge spreads out everywhere, like, shines out, that wisdom is coming
Yeah.
out, Yeah.
So in the world of reality, it is basically the divine, infinite knowledge, infinite
Knowledge.
intelligence.
And the other aspect is the consciousness of the oversoul. The first time I come across that term, I think. So infinite intelligence is the consciousness of the oversoul. So consciousness is almost equated to God, and the four things are together taken: infinite intelligence, consciousness, and knowledge, which is spreading, that is, which is radiant, effulgent. Okay.
Correct. And also, I think we can refer to page 1 of God Speaks, which is basically all soul atmas were, are, and will be in the Oversoul Paramatma. So I think the first line of the first page is talking about this.
Yes.
Jai
And
Baba.
only thing is, all souls are not effulgent because they are veiled. That's the only thing. And the whole process is deveiling.
Yeah. This effulgence is in the Paramatma state,
Paramatma.
beyond state of God.
Ah.
Because consciousness is only in the beyond state of God.
Exactly.
Okay. Everything in nature of the infinite and the infinite one is Paramatma. And Paramatma is the state of Kalana, everything. Darkness is imagination. Imagination is the state of ignorance. And ignorance is the state of darkness.
Darkness. Yeah.
Darkness.
So they're
Nothing
all
is the
related.
most.
Darkness
Yes, go
is.
ahead.
Yeah. Darkness is imagination. Imagination is the ignorance.
Nothing is the most finite. This most finite nothing is creation, and creation is in the state of na kalana, nothing. So
Came out of
creation is
nothing.
not.
The creation came out of nothing. So it is nothing. It came out of capital nothing, N, and it is small nothing, small n nothing.
Which language is this word Kalana, na Kalana? It was mentioned. I was not there when you started yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know.
We are also
Wondering about.
Wondering about it.
Okay.
I don't get any reference to this. Maybe it is a Sanskrit word or something, but I am not sure.
I tried to look it up. Only thing I found in the internet, it is a Hawaiian word.
Hawaiian word. Oh.
Hawaiian word.
That kind of sounds cool.
Yeah. Kalana, na Kalana. Never heard in Sanskrit.
The dhatu for kala is not going to fetch us anything, right? Because I think ka is not that. I doubt it's Sanskrit. We don't know.
I don't know. Oh.
Anyway, we can continue.
Okay. Okay, continuing. Effulgence, infinite intelligence, knowledge, everything. The soul itself exists in the state of formless form, latent in the original deep sleep of God, the beyond beyond. In the deep sleep of God, effulgence is in the form of light, but the light does not see itself. In the beyond beyond, knowledge is in the form of knowledge, but knowledge does not know itself. Everything is in the form of everything in the beyond beyond, but everything does not feel itself. In this original state of God, beyond and beyond, the infinite is in the form of infinite, but the infinity does not experience itself as infinite. The beyond beyond is the infinite state of latency before creation began, before thinking began, before knowing began, before the moment of thought, the whim in the ocean of divinity commenced. So all this is before the whim. Before knowing began, before the moment of thought, the whim in the ocean of divinity commenced. So all aspects are all what we should say, quiescent or non-expressive in the beyond beyond state. Light in the soul, light is the soul itself. In the original awakening state, light is in the form of darkness. This means that infinite intelligence does not experience the light of the soul. Knowledge is the soul itself. In this original awakening state, knowledge is in the form of ignorance. This means infinite intelligence does not experience the knowledge of the soul. Everything is the soul itself. In the original awakening state, this everything is in the form of the nothing. This means infinite intelligence does not experience the everythingness of the soul. The infinite is the soul itself. The original state of awakening, the infinite is in the form of the most finite. This means infinite intelligence does not experience the soul's infinity. In the perfect state of Sadguru, light exists in the form of light, and the light has its effulgent consciousness. This means that the Sadguru's effulgent consciousness is in the state of infinite intelligence using its infinite mind. In the Sadguru, a man who has become knowledge exists in the form of knowledge, and this knowledge knows that everything is in the form of everything. This means that the everything feels itself through the Sadguru. It feels itself as all knowledge, all powerful, and all bliss. Through the Sadguru, a man who has become infinite, the infinite exists in the form of infinite, and the infinite experiences the infinity itself, of itself. In the ordinary awake state of man, the light of the soul has the experience of darkness, the universe in the form of light. And the light has the experience of itself in the form of darkness. Yes, I will just read this once again.
This is interesting, right?
Yes, yes.
The darkness
in the art.
Yeah.
You can read again. This is really
interesting.
Confusing.
Yes, I will read these 4 lines once again. In the ordinary awake state of man, the light of the soul has the experience of darkness, that is the universe, in the form of light.
Right, yeah.
And the light has the experience of itself in the form of darkness. So we are experiencing the darkness of the soul or darkness of the universe in the form of light.
See, we have the God, right? We have the God, but we are ignorant. Samskaras are coming in the way. That is why the effulgence, what is in our heart, appears like a darkness. That means we feel it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Or we are unable to experience that. Yes.
We are unable to experience that. We only theoretically we know from reading or from Baba that God exists in us. Otherwise, we don't know.
We don't know. Yes. The knowledge of the soul experiences the darkness, the universe, in the form of knowledge. And knowledge experiences itself in the form of ignorance.
Ignorance, yeah.
The everything of the soul experiences the nothing, the universe, as everything. And everything experiences itself in the form of nothing. The infinite experiences the most finite, the universe infinitely. And the infinite experiences itself in the form of finite forms. So all our experiences are the reverse of what is the actuality or the reality. So that is in duality, you are not able to experience the reality. So we think that what we are experiencing is all in glory, but that is not the essence of it, actually.
Yeah, I think that is what it is when we say tamaso ma jyotirgamaya.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
so is that message coming? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Continuing, the infinite intelligence experiences imagination in the form of finite intelligence and itself in the form of imagination. This means that soul, which is everything, that is light, that is knowledge, that is infinite intelligence itself, has no knowledge of itself. No knowledge of itself. Instead, the soul experiences itself as darkness, ignorance, most finite, and in the form of imagination, not in the form of everything, the light, the knowledge, the infinite intelligence. Instead, the soul experiences itself as darkness, ignorance, most finite, and in the form of imagination, not in the form of everything, the light, the knowledge, the infinite intelligence. Okay.
So basically, here they are differentiating between duality and reality.
Yes. So on the whole process is that we are imagining what we are seeing around is all the knowledge or all the light and all that, which actually is not, is only darkness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And considering that to be the reality.
Reality.
Yeah.
So that is the illusion.
The same thing is explained further, I think. The creation is nothing. It is but an imagination. Imagination is contained in infinite intelligence, and this imagination is nothing. The darkness that is in the light is nothing, meaning that throughout all of creation and in every individual imagination, all is nothing but darkness. And this darkness is contained in the light. Yes, that is nothing in the everything. Okay. That which is ignorance and is contained in knowledge is nothing, meaning that throughout the whole world there is nothing but ignorance, and this ignorance is contained in knowledge. But even the nothing that is and which is latent in everything is nothing. It is the most finite and is latent in most finite infinite. There is nothing but nothingness, which is the everything, which is in the everything, and that nothingness is the everything of nothing.
You know, some time ago, my niece came to when we were reading God Speaks. She wanted to try, she wanted to try, and we are brothers and all. We meet regularly, and it so happened this sentence was done in a couple of pages. It is like this: there is nothing but nothingness, which is in the everything, and that nothingness is everything of the nothing. It is the same thing repeated couple pages, and she got scared and said, "I'm not ready for God Speaks."
How old is she?
She is probably 35 or something.
Okay, I relate to that. I was like that 2 years back.
Yes. Yes. 53 is ideal, I think, to take up. Not
Time
35.
Age doesn't matter.
No.
No.
Our journey is
Age
ageless.
Exactly. Age is a space-time construct. So, so we leave it to Baba to decide when it's time for others. Like, I mean, 2 years back I was in that state, but then now I can deal with it because you are Baba's grace. That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got used to it
That's a good one.
without understanding much, but okay. We think that we know. Jai Baba.
Sure.
The whole thing is going around. God is reality. We are in illusion. That's all, right? Nothing.
Yes.
Illusion means nothing.
And
It's all going around. God alone
the
is the reality.
stress, the stress here is that we are in duality, but we think this is real. That is small real. But we think it is the real. So we have to come out of that and say experience that what is around us is all non-real. Then alone the capital real will try to dawn, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, continuing. Because the creation is most finite, it is a drop of the ocean in the ocean, as originally the imagination was latent as a drop in the infinite intelligence. That imagination that surged as infinite thinking is but a drop of infinite mind. And all the infinite number of minds are nothing but drops of the ocean of infinite mind. The oceanic drop in the form of creation is ignorance. Ignorance is in the ocean as a drop in the form of knowledge, not knowing. Knowledge, not knowing. Okay. This means that the oceanic drop in the form of infinite creation is ignorance. And this ignorance in the ocean of knowledge is just a drop of not knowing. Creation is in the ocean as a drop in the form of light. This means that the creation, universe, darkness is in the ocean of light as a drop of light. A limited creation remains in the ocean as a drop, and the limitedness of creation remains in the ocean of the infinite as a drop. Nothingness remains in the ocean of everythingness as a drop, and the nothing in the everything is as a drop. The meaning of everything and the nothing, the infinite and the most finite, is that within the ocean of light, darkness is as a drop. In the ocean of knowledge, ignorance is as a drop. In the ocean of infinite intelligence, imagination is only as a drop. In the ocean of everything, the nothing is as a drop. And the ocean of infinity, the most finite, is the form of a drop. So all these things like, say,
Yeah, I think it explains it very well here in the nutshell, just to make it easy to understand. Yeah.
Yes, yes. The meaning of everything
So
and
if
nothing.
yeah.
I will just repeat
And
this. The
if
meaning of
right,
everything and the nothing, the infinite and the most finite, that is within the ocean of light, darkness is a drop. In the ocean of knowledge, ignorance is a drop. So in the ocean of infinite intelligence, imagination is only as a drop. In the ocean of everything, the nothing is as a drop. And the ocean of infinity, the most finite, is in the form of a drop. Okay, I hope this is clear.
yeah. Yeah. So if we can, move up these lines, we can explain it to people
Yes,
who get puzzled,
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Like the niece of Ravi.
Okay, I have marked this. This whole creation has oozed out or poured out as the drop of darkness, as the drop of ignorance, and is the most finite imagination of nothing. The most finite imagination of nothing is the original, formless, not knowing, unseen, unfelt, unconscious, unspread drop in the form of mental, subtle, and gross worlds, heavens, planes, universes, planets, numberless suns, moons, and stars. So everything is included into this. All this nothing is experienced by the Jivatma, not as imagination, not as illusion, not as nothing, but as the everything, as infinite, as knowledge, as being, as intelligence, as light, as existence. All the imagination of the nothing comes out from the most finite point, the home point, and from that point, infinite thinking arises. In the state of sound sleep, there is no such thing as creation unseen or unseen darkness or darkness point or unfelt nothing drop or unknowing ignorance drop or unthinking imagination drop or the unexperienced consciousness in the most finite form of drop. So all of these are not there in the sound sleep state. There is in deepest sleep, everything disappears. There in the deepest sleep, everything disappears into a nothing state. In the waking state, this original drop of nothing becomes gross, subtle, and mental worlds which are seen and felt as universal light, universal consciousness, universal intelligence, and infinite and in infinite form, which is all sheer ignorance. Okay. The Sadguru or the Avatar sees the creation as darkness and knows this darkness as unknown ignorance. Simultaneously, he experiences himself as infinite and feels himself as everything. In the ordinary awake state, the experience of a gross, subtle, or mental conscious Jivatma is without substance or essence. The Jivatma's experience is of darkness, nothingness, dropness, limitedness, most finiteness, and ignorance, unconsciousness. Despite this, the soul always remains as it is. The soul remains in the form of everything as infinite ocean, all knowledge, all light, all power, all bliss, even though it does not experience itself. In the divine state of the Sadguru or the Avatar, the soul experiences the creation as it is nothing, the most finite drop, as darkness, as imagination and ignorance. Simultaneously, the soul in the state of the Sadguru experiences itself as it is, the infinite ocean, the everything, the light, the knowledge, the power, the bliss, and infinite intelligence. So this is the difference. So we experience darkness as everything, and Sadguru experiences both these things together. And he is clear about what is imagination, what is ignorance, and he experiences himself all that positivity or the reality. And so he acts through reality. That's how I imagine. So he is able to make those who are in the ignorance to come out of it because of his grace and blessings. Continuing.
Yeah, because he knows the reality and the drop of the
Yes.
ignorance is also part of that reality. So he knows both and he is able to differentiate.
Yes.
Yeah, Baba. And guide others.
Yeah. In the sound sleep state of human being, gross, subtle, or mental conscious, light is darkness and darkness is darkness. Light is darkness and darkness is darkness. So here light means the light that we perceive, which is nothing actually. In the awake state, man experiences that light is darkness and darkness is light. So the reverse. So in the sleep state, light, which is reality, is also dark, and the darkness, which is the duality, is also dark because he is sleeping. In the awake state, man experiences that light is darkness, that is reality is dark, and darkness is light, that is the duality is supposed to be the light for us. In the perfect state of Sadguru, light is the light and darkness is darkness, ignorance, as knowledge is everything and ignorance is nothing. He is very clear about this, and so he is able to see light as light and darkness as darkness. Knowledge as knowledge and ignorance as ignorance. As knowledge is everything and ignorance is nothing.
Yeah. You know, Mamaji, this reminds me, there is one document called Tattva Bodha. I don't know whether you read it or not.
Yes, I have read.
You read it, right? Written by Adi Shankaracharya.
Yes.
In the initial stages, there is Shat Sampatti, right? Six qualities to enter into spiritual realm. And one of the quality is Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, something like that, right? Titiksha, Shraddha. One of the thing is Viveka. Remember that Viveka?
Yes, yes.
Viveka is the discrimination between the real and unreal.
Unreal.
We should have that discrimination, what is temporary and what is permanent. And that's what reminds me of when you're reading that the perfect master has the ability. It's also possible for us to differentiate what is permanent and what is not permanent.
Yes, that is on the involution process. We gradually acquire one by one all the aspects of that. Yes.
Yeah. Sometime I think it's worth going through that Shat Sampatti because it's very useful for us. Remember that Sama, Dhamma, Titiksha,
Yes.
Viveka, Vairagya.
I used to discuss in the group also.
Exactly.
With the book.
Yeah. Tattva Bodha. Yeah.
Okay. Any other points for discussion? So the whole summary of this is all that is going on in our mind is all darkness. We are in darkness and we have to get out of this and then see light. This is only possible by the grace of the Sadguru or Avatar. But our effort in this sphere has to be there so that we can move ahead. We can't just sit and say, Avatar or Sadguru, please give us all the light.
Right. We have to apply our Viveka.
Yes.
As you were saying. Yes.
And this is one process which we are going through by reading and studying all this.
Yeah, Baba has said, listen to the voice of your heart, which we many times get, but we suppress that voice. Actually, we listen to the mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So we get that.
All the garbage
it's something we experience every day, every hour, probably. Yeah.
Baba said he talks, why do you keep silent? Somebody asked. Baba said, I talk non-stop through, if you listen to my talk, I listen through your heart. But what happens, as you said, Sanjay, we have this garbage in the mind that covers that listening ability. Is the problem.
Yes. He made a clear distinction of the heart and the mind. So we are always in the mind. So we never go towards the heart. So that progress from mind to the heart is all the spiritual path.
Yes, and I just wanted to add what Sanjay said, Viveka and Vairagya. I think both.
Yeah.
And
no, actually, this journey is also through the mind itself. So mind is required to even to reach heart and to say that mind is nothing. Mind is required. That's why in Vedanta they say it is through only mind that you can acquire all this. So that's why we'll have to climb and then discard the ladder. So
yeah, I mean, what I was intending to say was the tragedy is that at least in some parts we know what is right to be done and we don't get to do it actually.
Yes.
So that's the tragedy actually. Because and there are easy options to choose. It's not very difficult. On a daily life, we have many easy options to choose, but we sometimes and most times rather, avoid the heart option and go for the mind option.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's what.
And we always feel that the heart option is non-practicable. We jump into the mind.
Yes. So that's the journey and effort that we need to take for the Sadguru to, lend his hand to, progress us. Yeah.
Progress.
Our effort has to be seen,
Yeah.
It's a learning process, right?
Yes.
Because originally we don't have that ability.
Yeah. I mean, in office also we have performance appraisals, and then we find people who have made a lot of effort, a genuine effort, though they may not have got the results because of other circumstances, and those people are really appreciated actually. So it's just simple as that. Yeah, the effort has to be seen. Yeah.
Okay, then we can move further. The infinite real I and the infinite false I. So both are infinite. One is the real I, the other one is the false I. Originally, before the beginning, there was the infinite real I, light, intelligence, knowledge. With the real I in its existence was the infinite false I, Maya, natural darkness, ignorance. So with this real I itself, there was infinite false I, Maya, natural darkness, and ignorance. Before the beginning, the infinite false I was continually seeing the infinite real I. Okay, before the beginning, the false I was continually seeing the infinite real I. But the infinite false I was not conscious of it. Okay. It could not see the infinite real I consciously because by nature the infinite false I is dark. Its being was dark. It was unknowing and unconscious. And the infinite false I could not see the infinite real I without desires, without sanskaras, without thought. Though the infinite false I was seeing the infinite real I, at the same time it was not really seeing because it was not knowing what it saw. What it saw was unknown to itself. So the infinite false I desired to know the infinite real I self, that is, to see it. But actually, it was the infinite real I through the infinite false I that desired to know and see the infinite real I itself as it really was. This is the urge or the trying to whim state. To desire to know and see was voiced as who am I? The original desire, the first sanskara of the infinite false I to see, to know, and to experience the infinite real I was put to a limit, and it was put to a limit by the first sanskaras. So limitation starts with the first sanskara. In the beginning, the infinite false I was unlimited. It had no desire and was without sanskaras, and so existed without limit. But at the time, it could not experience the infinite real I. In order to experience the infinite real I, it was required to have consciousness. But it was the infinite real I that required the consciousness of itself, though it did so through the infinite false I. Okay. The infinite false I, not knowing who am I, desired to know the infinite real I, and by this desire it became conscious but not of itself. It became conscious but not of itself. The desire created sanskaras, and by the sanskara, the infinite false I became limited. Although it had become conscious, it was now limited. Its knowledge, sight, and consciousness were all put to a limit. And this limitation kept it from knowing that it was actually the infinite real I, and that was becoming conscious through the infinite false I. Okay. In the beginningless beginning, the infinite real I was also unlimited, and it also had no consciousness of itself. The infinite real I did not see itself, did not experience itself, did not know itself, and it did not know that it was real because of the want of consciousness. Then the infinite real I became conscious through the infinite false I, but still it could not know itself as real because its consciousness was limited in the false I. Though conscious, the real I through the false I could not see itself and so could not experience itself as real. It was limited, bound by sanskaras in the false I, not infinite and limitless as before the beginning. In order to see and know the real self I, this false I, this limited false self, had to become both infinite and indivisible, as is the real I from which the false I is formed, and fully conscious, meaning infinitely conscious. So here the second point is included, that is become indivisible.
So, Jay Baba, I just wanted to say that the beginless beginning can be equated to the beyond state of God, the first state.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So in the first state, it is not conscious of itself. Even though it is the real I, it is not conscious of itself. That is the beyond state. From there, we come to the second stage where the whim starts. And we are being explained about the process of whim, what is happening and all that.
Correct. So the beginless beginning is state one, that is God in the beyond state.
Yes.
Correct.
No, actually, God is always in the beyond state of God is state.
Yes.
Only for our mental understanding, only thing we have, the tool we have is the intellect, right, to understand. So for our intellectual understanding, Baba divided that beyond state God into 10 states in God speaks.
Yeah.
That is why we're able to comprehend what is God. In actuality, there's only one state. God is.
God is existence. Yes.
That's it. Nothing else. It's only for our understanding. He said Parabrahma, Paramatma state, and then other states of God.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before the beginning, the infinite real I was limitless but had no consciousness. In order to know itself as real, it became conscious through the false I. This false self, limited I, ultimately should become infinite and indivisible as the infinite real I, out of which the real self formed its existence, and its consciousness should become infinite and indivisible to see the infinite real I in itself. It is the infinite real I through the infinite false I that becomes fully conscious to see the real self. So this word indivisible means to me that, say, as we go through the path, so even though we are multiple souls, drop souls, so with the knowledge, we come to the state where it is the same single entity. That's why this indivisible term is becoming more important here. So every drop soul ultimately becomes the over soul. That is the single entity or existence. So only in the duality stage we are divided. So indivisibleness is the criteria for God. As in the prayer also we stress that you are indivisible.
Yeah. Yeah. In the Parvardigar prayer.
Yes, yes.
You also mentioned that you are unlimited. So unlimited,
yes,
visible.
To see the light, the seeing should be through darkness. To know knowledge, the knowing should be through ignorance. In other words, darkness must be experienced in order to see light. Ignorance must be known as ignorance in order to know knowledge. All the states of unconsciousness must be experienced in order to become conscious of consciousness. The Sadguru has become conscious of all states of consciousness and all states of unconsciousness. He has attained the infinite real I through the infinite false I by passing through all false states of consciousness in the infinite unconsciousness. The Sadguru, with one glance of grace, can destroy in a flash, in one birth, the limit of the limited mind, false self, formed of desires and sanskaras. The Sadguru's glance can make the seeker like himself. The false limited I changes into the infinite real I. The Sadguru's glance can make the seeker like himself. Himself refers to Sadguru. Okay. The false limited I changes into the infinite real I. Kabir has sung, the Sadguru should be such a one who can, in a moment, show, that is, give experience of reality and give darshan of self in a flash by pushing the seeker in the beyond. Okay. The Sadguru should be such a one who can, in a moment, show reality and give darshan of the self in a flash by pushing the seeker in the beyond. Yes, I will pause here. Any discussion?
So actually, in my wish, he has said that at the time of your last breath, you must remember me. So in a flash, he can give us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, in a flash.
We needn't go through all the stages in the plane, but of course, we have to experience that in that flash. But we can get the reach the seventh plane God realization. So if you, we must constantly remember to remember him at the time of our last breath.
Yes. What is that importance of the last breath? Because this birth and death,
right?
Why I'm asking this is birth and death is actually imagination. So all this experience that we are having in this birth time, which is going to end in death. So what is the importance of that last breath?
Okay, I'll rephrase my the terms. So dropping of the body.
Yes.
When we are having our last breath, we have to remember him, and that's when you get the real death. The real death meanings you get merged with God. In the in between stages where you are reincarnating, that means you are the body is changing. I mean, the soul is just getting another body.
Yes.
You're dropping one body and getting into another body. That is the process of reincarnation mentioned time and again in God Speaks, even in This and Humanity, and in all the various charts. So, in one of the charts, I think they have mentioned very clearly that the human body does a lot of reincarnation, and those are not real births and deaths. That is just the body changing. I mean, the soul changing the the body, which is basically acquiring a new costume.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point. What Mamaji is asking is, what is the importance of death, right? So this is the thought I got. So a Jivatma is complete only when all the three systems are in coordination. What are the three systems? Mental body, subtle body, and the physical body. Then only you function as a Jivatma. All the sanskaras functioning and everything. Whereas when you drop the body, you are in a subtle plane. That means only energy body and mental body exist. Because gross body left, right? And you go through that hell and heaven. We read it is in the second plane because you are in the subtle world. That means the Jivatma is not complete at that time until it takes up another body. There is something about intellectually thinking about your whole system, thinking about God at the time of this changing. That is what I'm thinking. When the Jivatma is complete, that is only before death, right? What you think about God is only before the death. When actually death happens, you are just disconnecting the system. The system is not complete anymore. That is what I'm thinking, Mamaji. In Bhagavad Gita, not only if you think about God, you become God, but he further explained whatever you think about in the last moments, in the next life, you will become that.
Yes.
So it's all, what I'm thinking is it's all sanskaras, What do you think in the last moments? Only when you are prepared before, let's say you are a singer, okay? And you want to be a great singer. You are like a mediocre singer. You want to become a great singer. So you have the desire, I want to be like Lata Mangeshkar. I want to be like a Lata Mangeshkar. You have the desire, you practice, practice, practice. So your whole life you practiced it. So you created those sanskaras. In the last moments, you cannot leave those thoughts. You are in the thoughts of becoming a good singer. That is why you become that. So the final thoughts, what you have is related to how you form your thought process in your life. See, we cannot think about God in the last minute just like that. It has to be prepared. Our body, our system has to be prepared. In our hometown, there is one gentleman by name Kakarpatti Bhavan Narayana. He was also a Baba lover. He was a very rich man. He built a big college behind our house, KBN College. Kakarpati Bhavan Narayana College. And he had a lot of businesses and all those things. And he used to come regularly to Baba. He met even Baba too. Baba meetings and everything. When Baba came to Vijayawada, he met. And then what happened when he was dying? Guess what he was thinking? He was thinking about cards. Cards, Ispet Rani. When all the Baba lovers are there, they were trying to help him to remember Baba, but he would not say Baba's name. He was thinking about Spade Rani, Atin Rani. These card names he was remembering. I thought I should bring up that example. So it's Baba's effort is also there at the last moment, whom we think about. I hope I gave you some hint. May not be a direct answer, but Mamaji?
Yes, yes. I will give a few explanation of what I think of this.
Okay.
Because, say, when the process of this gross body dropping, what is the package that is moving ahead into the astral world and then to the next gross body? So the
Subtle.
package is the subtle and the mental package.
Right.
So if you do not have the God consciousness or the wanting to be God or thinking of God in that package, your next life is also going to be the same search from zero, not from, say, some already acquired some knowledge. So that's why at the end, if you can remember God, that means to remember God at the last breath is that you have remembered God throughout. Only with that effort you can remember God at the last breath.
Yeah.
So all your exercise in remembering God or thinking that I am God, that process has to be so crystallized and then so intense, then alone you will have the thought of God at the end. So if anyone can have the thought of God and God alone at the end, he is actually realized. And then Baba pushes him to not to have this cycle of birth and death. That's how I look at it. So because otherwise what we carry in the mental and subtle and mental package to the next life will all be the same desires and sanskaras with us.
Yeah.
So if you can divide all these sanskaras and desires and only one desire is there, that of remembering God, then alone you will be able to be pushed to the this cycleless say infinite existence of being God later, not getting birth and death. So that is how I thought why that last breath you have to remember God.
Yeah. Yeah, a good point, Mamaji. One more point that strikes me is we are talking about scaffoldings and ladders, right?
Yeah.
All the sanskaras that we need before getting God realization is we need sanskaras. Just now,
Yeah.
we are also talking about we need mind. We need mind means we need sanskaras. Mind exists only because sanskaras exist. So we need to collect all the good sanskaras that help us to transform into the God realization process. So those sanskaras won't come in the last minute. It has to be acquired throughout your life.
Yeah.
It's a sequential thing,
No,
Baba has also made it very easy that even if you remember me just once in a day, that itself is you will be able to remember me
at the
in
time
dying
of the
moments. So he has made it very practical and but it has to be out of real, sincere effort and love for him. Yeah.
No, that is
He's made
Baba's
it so easy.
diplomacy.
Yeah.
No, I feel that is Baba's diplomacy.
Could be a
Making you
bait.
remember him
Could be a
every
bait.
time,
Yes.
every day. Yes, yes.
See, I'll tell you one example of, I'm sure in India too, here in America, sports is a big deal. main sports are, number one is football, American football. Probably have no idea what that is. Second is baseball, and third one is basketball. And rest of the games are very small. Soccer is very small, and these three are the main games. Now, the professional teams are there for every city. The people who come to play into those professional games they don't just become like that. They have to go to school, high school. In high school, they have to play. Only when they have then played well in the high school, when they go to college, there are some quotas, sports quota, and then in sports quota also somebody played very good in baseball, they take them, and then they play for the college. And then after the college, there are some second-rate or third-rate teams. They play for them. Then second grade, then the first grade. After that, they will be selected to the professional games. So it's all connected. So they cannot just become professional player. It has to start from the childhood. So that is how I see somebody remembering God at the time of the death has to be started somewhere, sometime before, much before,
Yes, yes.
not in the last minute. Yeah.
All
Jai
your analogies and points are well taken, but they're all secondary evidence. It's not a clinching evidence for supporting that. It still looks to me like a samskaric shortcut, which
Yeah, it is. It is.
yeah.
But that should not be our problem. That's Baba's problem. That's not be our problem. We don't even know what is our goal
Yeah,
till now,
I know.
right?
Do as I say.
Yeah, that's it. All we have to do is love him, love him more and more. Maybe if we are loving this much today, we have to think about how can I love Baba more tomorrow. That's all we can do.
Jai Baba, he has given his message in my wish, and I think that is very that is a good a practical way of how to how to reach. And I also agree, and I what I meant is that we have to have preparation, of course, and every day and every moment we have to remember Baba, and also we have to remember in every breath, that is Ba and Ba. I think that's a very good way of putting it. Exhale and inhale. So we have to with every breath, subconsciously we have to remember Baba. I don't deny that, but here I was just trying to interpret that. I just read this. Kabir has sung, the Sadguru should be such a one who can in a moment give give experience of reality and give darshan of the self in a flash by pushing the seeker in the beyond. So that is what reminded me of one of the moments where we could get this. Even in our living moments, we can get God realization, provided we are that evolved that we are shutting down all our sanskaras and we are that evolved in our journey, which is difficult because of our sanskaras and the illusion in the gross world which we live in.
Yeah. See, one more advantage is we are in the avataric period. So avataric period pushes, because we might have been delayed, which we don't remember. Probably we were delayed in the past lives. But now we are in a best spiritually powerful time, which we should make use of it.
Opportune time, because Baba also has said that he's here for 100 years. Anyway, we can continue.
Now 50 years, that's it. 50 years is over.
Yeah. And our 50 years over without knowing Baba. That is the tragedy. Mine. I came to Baba so late now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everybody has got their own journey.
Yes,
it doesn't matter, I guess.
You should be happy that when you were there, Baba was also there, So
Yeah.
in
Yes.
some sense, contemporaries.
Yes. Contemporaries.
We were born.
Contemporary.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are many people who were born much later, so for them,
Yes.
you have to find.
A valid point, Sanjay. I was also born in
Yes.
1960.
And I have visited
We were there
Pune
when
so
Krishna
many
was there
times.
too. We were there when Krishna was there, Jesus was there, Muhammad was there, Buddha was there, but
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
we were having a different
Now,
business.
don't make me feel bad. Now, don't make me feel bad, okay? You contemporaries.
No, I was only consoling Mamaji.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think you're sitting in the dining
It's just
room.
coincidental. So, I mean, you
NPR.
can achieve the.
Yes, we are there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're drinking tea. Drink one more cup of tea in my name. I would die for that tea, man. I come to Mehrabad more than Baba for a cup of tea. I'm ashamed to say that.
Wrong thing to say. Wrong thing to say.
Wrong thing to say. Well, we'll think about the God realization in the next life.
Yeah. Honesty. Love your honesty.
That's, I love that tea. I can never get the taste of the tea anywhere else.
Environment is just phenomenal here. I mean, I know I had a chance, I couldn't come, so I'm.
Okay, shall we proceed further?
Yeah.
Can you just check how many pages these are? Because we're going to have a week in between. So if it's too long,
That's okay. We can read as much,
Okay, all right. Anyway,
Formless Parabrahma.
We started from
the previous one. So formless Paratpara is the name of the beginning of the text.
we started from 2 and 5.
Kalana. Yes, Kalana and Nampada.
Yes, and we are right now. Cool. Gone beyond. Yes, we are here.
Yeah, I think
That is
let's finish
224.
this formless.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
I think we can finish this.
We can finish formless Paratpara. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Formless Paratpar Parabrahma Paramatma and personal Paramatma and Maya. Originally, the formless Paratpar Parabrahma Paramatma is the real Aham I, which is the infinite real self. In this formless impersonal state of the infinite real self, there exists no consciousness of knowing, experiencing, seeing, feeling, acting, or reacting. It means Paramatma was originally Paratpar Parabrahma. Infinite consciousness was originally infinitely unconscious. Formless Maya is the infinite but unconscious false self, which is the existence of false Aham, the infinite false I. Being unconscious, Maya cannot see or experience or know the infinite real self, Paramatma. To become conscious of itself, the infinite real I takes a form and becomes the embodied soul Jivatma. When the Jivatma through Maya becomes fully conscious, it sees the infinite real self and experiences it and can become personal God by having consciousness of the infinite real self, Paramatma. Originally, the infinite false self exists in the infinite real self and simultaneously the infinite real self is in the infinite false self. Both are merged as one in unconscious beyond. But the manyness of the three words in illusion belongs to the infinite false self I, whereas the infinite real I remains only as a witness to it. Yes, somebody wanted to tell something.
No, proceed, Mamaji.
Okay. Both the that is manyness of the three words of illusion belongs to the infinite false self I, whereas the infinite real I remains only as a witness to it. Only as a witness to it. Personal God is the fully conscious Jivatma, meaning the infinitely conscious Shivatma. Personal God is the existence of the real self plus the existence of the infinite false I as shadow. False I as shadow. This means that because of consciousness of both God and the three worlds, personal God in the form of avatar or Sadguru sees, knows, and experiences the unlimited real self and simultaneously is a witness to creation. The experience of personal God Sadguru is like the experience of the ancient one, Avatar, the first soul who established the aspect of personal God, Adi Purush, personal God, Adi Purush. The Jivatma who becomes personal God is like the ancient one of ages past. That is, he is master of God like Zarathustra, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, Meher Baba, and his consciousness is one with the avatars. Gross illusion, Maya, is the state of limited false self, the Jivatma developing three bodies and experiencing through limited mind. Desires create sanskaras, impressions, and desires limit the limitless false ego. But desires also make the limitless false ego conscious as Jivatma so that it can see, know, feel, and eventually experience the infinite real ego, Aham. Instead of seeing the real self, the limitless false ego in the form of the Jivatma sees everything as limited because of desires, which put a limit to the mind, thinking consciousness. Therefore, instead of man seeing, knowing, and experiencing the real self as infinite God, man sees body and creation limitedness. Consciousness is preserved for the sake of realization. And when consciousness becomes unlimited in nirvana, then consciousness can see, know, and experience the infinite real self instantaneously in nirvikalpa. So the difference is consciousness is preserved for the sake of realization, and when consciousness becomes unlimited in nirvana, then consciousness can see, know, and experience the infinite real self instantaneously in nirvikalpa. For realization to occur, consciousness should remain and limit should go. This means that to attain the state of realization of self, that is, for the limited false consciousness to become unlimited real consciousness, the limit to consciousness should be dissolved. What is limits? What limits consciousness? What is the cause of limitation? Desire. So desires should disappear. The first desire was to know who am I. This first desire, the first sanskara, gave rise to countless desires sanskaras, with the result that there is countless limitations. The countless limitations arise from the first limit. The first limit was, I do not know who I am. When the infinite falls, I began to know countless limitations arose because at first the desired everything but itself. Because at first it desired everything but itself. The abolition of all limitations, all desires and sanskaras is necessary to experience the limitless real I. That is, to deliver oneself from all limitations, one must get rid of all desires. With the abolition of sanskaras in nirvana, the false limited self is transformed in nirvikalpa, and instantaneously it realizes the infinite real self, and self becomes unlimited and conscious of real I. In nirvana and jivatma, the jivatma loses all form and exists as formless in nirvikalpa. The self is real in the state of aham brahmasmi. Yes, any inputs or discussions on this? So I would like to ask a question here. Can anyone clearly define desire, sanskara, and one more term? Yes. Yes, how do we actually define sanskaras or impressions and desires? Are they the same, or if they are different, how do we define them? How
Desire is one of the sanskara, right? Desire is wanting something is a type of sanskara. And most of the sanskaras are of desires because that's what it anything negative reflects into a desire. And desire is a sanskara. Desire could be for money, fame, lust, greed, whatever. Wanting something. And anger, for example, that's not a desire, but that's a reflection of the ego. So who am I? So I think most of the sanskara are connected to desire, wanting something. Lust is also a desire. Eating something is a desire. The taste buds, those being a glutton. So that's also a desire. So that's what I can think of.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
I agree. Semantically, maybe desires lead to sanskaras. So, in the sense, our actions. See, I'm going from the semantic use of the word impressions to explain. See, samskaras are firstly, let us accept, samskaras are first brought to the literary and spiritual literary world by Baba, right? So, and the first word he has used to compare sanskaras is impressions. And impressions are basically what you carry from one to the other, right? So, if you look at the three terms, I think the third term you're probably looking for, Mama, is karma, right? So you have desires, you have samskaras, and you have karma. And I think there are subtle differences in the three. Desires lead to sanskaras and karma. Sanskaras is the vehicle or the receptacle that carries that from one to the other. All desires lead to sanskaras. And non-desires also can lead to sanskaras, like anger, like your behavior, right? So even that can lead to sanskaras, but all desires necessarily create sanskara. So I think that's the way I understand it.
Except for the desire to love him. So the only desire, Baba's message is there. The only desire you should have is to become desireless. Desirelessness. So that's also a desire, but that's a good desire.
Even the leher or the whim, the whim to know who am I is also a desire, and that's a good desire.
No, that is the real desire God has. That is the real whim, right?
So that is a desire, right? Or
that is a desire, yeah. That is a whim, but that is the original natural.
Yeah,
That desire
first
was not
impression.
there.
Yeah. Actually, sanskaras are there in Vedanta too. Sanskaras and vasanas are there.
Okay, go ahead.
Vasanas are tendencies.
Yes, vasanas
and
are the closest.
Yeah,
Yes.
tendencies. I have an example. Says like when I'm driving, I have a tendency to go faster. That is my nature. That is the vasana I have. I have the vasana of going faster. Well, like this number of examples are there. Basically, desires are happening in the mind. It's happening in the mind because of the sanskaras. How did the sanskaras come about? Is you acted at one time and you created those impressions in your mind. Impressions are sanskaras. And in your normal life, they kick in. Your actions, your behavior is totally what the film you have created in the past. That is the sanskaras you have created in the past. While acting.
Your example of the ice cream.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, do you know chai? The other day somebody was asking me what is sanskara. I asked that lady, do you know how to make chai? She said, yes, I know how to make chai. How do you know? Because I learned. When did you learn? When I was a kid. So before, when she was a baby, she doesn't even know what is chai. But later on, her mom and dad started drinking chai, and she hears the word chai. When the right age came, and she also drank, she has the experience of drinking chai. And later on, when we became older, she started making chai. So now she collected all the chai sanskaras. So when somebody asks her to make chai, the sanskaras kick in. She knows exactly how to make because she made thousands of times. Every time she makes a chai, she has that feeling, I am making chai. That creates newer sanskaras, chai sanskaras.
I think learning for me is the karma creates sanskaras and sanskaras lead to a karma. Because if you get those sanskaras, you get to do. So the application of right Vivek Vairagya is very critical. Follow him what he wants us to do. And then automatically the cycle of karma sanskara, this we have to break actually. So that's the ultimate aim. Yeah, because they are interdependent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even
Sanskara and
loving
desire.
also create.
Go
ahead.
All of us. I said Sanjay ji's reference to karma being an act is limiting, because even in Vedanta it is a broader use of the term than act.
Yeah.
Right? Karma, though in Sanskrit dictionary karma is action. In Vedantic terms, karma is even thought. Right? So even that begets karma.
Yes.
Right?
You're right.
So it's broader.
Absolutely. Agree.
Yeah.
So that's a precursor to the actual act. Precursor to an actual act is that it comes to your mind and then you physically do it. So that's a part of the same thing.
Yeah. You may not
So
you still beget karma.
So if you do not do it, it only remains in mind, it weans away faster. So that's like tying your legs. And if you do it, it's tying your hands. So as Baba has given that analogy. So if your legs are tied, you can possibly use your hands to open them. But if your hands are tied, you just can't do anything. You need somebody else to help you. So it's just that. Yeah, Baba.
The progression of thought, word, and deed. I mean, of course, and the creation of the intensity of sanskaras, as just explaining the analogy, is that your thoughts create less intensity as compared to the word, which creates lesser than the deed. I would also request if Ashish, who's there on the call, if he wants to say something, he's our guest. Ashish is there, I think, on the call. So if he wants to add something.
I think he's not there, but he's not a guest anymore. He's a very vibrant part of the group now. I look forward. In fact, I was hoping to meet him here. He traveled to Delhi. I called him and I said I want to spend some time planning technology with him, but he was in Delhi, so we could not meet. He's there. Yeah, he's there on the call.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Yesterday I was not there. Yesterday actually I was traveling to Agra, Taj Mahal. So I was not able to join. But today
nice.
hotel. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm attending. But next weekend I'm in Merabat. It's a long
Oh,
weekend.
I am not.
Next weekend
I
I'm in
am
Merabat.
not.
15
we are
March.
not.
15 March. On 15 March. Sorry. 15,
Okay.
16, 17
15th
March. I'm
April.
in Merabat.
April. Yeah.
Sorry, April.
April.
Yes.
April.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
So Ashok ji, we are all guests actually. Jai Baba. just
No, but
visiting this place.
Sanjay.
Yeah.
But Sanjay,
Correct.
Yeah.
I like the ownership Ashok took. By saying
Okay.
guest, he became host.
Okay. Oh wow. Jai Baba.
No, I am
Jai
also
Baba.
a guest.
We are all visiting this place. Jai Baba.
We're all
Wayfarers.
Baba's guests, right?
Wayfarers.
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 Yeah, wayfarers. Yeah. Jai Baba.
That's a very good word. Wayfarers.
Okay, last question for Ravi and Mamaji. We'll just wrap up after this. Ravi, you mentioned sanskaras are appearing in Vedanta. Yes, the closest term I agree with you, vasanas, tendencies. But sanskaras also appear because I have not been able to find that. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So maybe if you could
Not
throw some light
nobody
on.
talked about it extensively, but it's still it is
Okay.
there. It is there, but not much talked about.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
only thing is, I think in Sanskrit it is samskaras. Yam.
Yeah,
not
samskaras.
sanskara.
Yeah.
Not the N. Yes, not the N.
N,
Yes, agreed.
N.
Yeah.
I do not know whether I would use, and these people made it sanskaras, sanskaras, but yeah, in
I
Vedanta
don't
they
know.
call it samskaras. And
Samskara.
Baba,
That's a battle
another-
you can pick up later.
yeah. Another thing I found out is Baba has more tendency towards the Sufi terms more than yeah, Parsi terms or Christian terms or Hindu terms.
Vedantic.
I think second is Vedant. First is Islamic terms, I think. Sufi terms.
Yes.
That's what I see.
Quiz. Quiz question.
Don't
What
miss
is
the video.
what is this?
Don't miss the.
This is water pumping, right? No, what is that?
Yeah. This was a pump which was used near the well, near the Samadhi, near the Dhuni. There is a well.
Uh-huh.
So this pump was installed there. So it can be cranked manually. If you can see the wheel here, so it's to be cranked manually to take out water from that well. The
When
well
Baba
still
was there-
exists. And yeah. When they came in the beginning, in the initial years, there is a well near the Dhoni, original well they call it, Yeah.
Yeah,
So
original
that
well.
this pump they have put here actually.
What
That's
well?
It's a manually operated pump actually.
You used a term. What is that? You said something, Sanjay.
This manually operated actually. There is no power motor here, so they crank it using this wheel, cranking. Rotate this,
Rotate
and
that,
that turns this pump actually. There is a piston here you can see, right? So very beautiful. Jai Baba. It's made by a British company. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Wow.
Turner and Company or something.
Wow.
That's stored and placed outside the MPR.
Outside the MPR hall. Yeah.
Cafeteria. Yeah.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
When you
Jai Baba.
when Yurich visited Baba asked him in 1934, what do you want to study? Baba Yurich said, I want to study engineer. And
Yes.
Baba called a couple of the engineers there in the Mandari. I forgot what are the names who are living there with Baba. And Baba made fun of them, it seems. He wants to become engineer. Look at him. Something like that.
Okay.
That's why I didn't take up engineering.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Karthik, you're there. Karthik and Sanjay, you all are there till when? In Mehrabad.
Leaving tomorrow.
They're leaving tomorrow.
Oh, that's nice. Very
Coming
lucky.
tomorrow?
Nahi re, if horses, if witches were horses, horses could fly.
Come for the evening aarti. Jai Baba.
Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, chalo, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone.
I joined virtually.
Jai
There's
Baba, everyone.
a link, I'll join.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.